The Knights of Ren podcast is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., your source for Star Wars Destiny singles, sealed product, and more. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Show me again the power of the darkness.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll. D20radio.com. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Knights of Ren episode 601. We are starting a new season because Worlds is over, and we are going to be moving forward with whatever kind of meta we have. There's a lot coming on in the GQ scene, and then eventually we'll get Way of the Force. But this is going to be a Worlds recap. We're going to talk about a lot of the things we saw, and a little bit of speculation about where the game is going to be headed. Also, we've got MomoCon and KublaCon coming up on May 24th through 28th, both in Georgia and California. So there's two GQs happening simultaneously. So there's going to be quite a bit of Destiny going on in 2 weeks from now. So before we get in there, how's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Doing great.
Oh, wow. Show off.
Hey, Todd, do you play Destiny?
Yeah, dude, I do. Funny you should ask.
You don't even play Destiny.
Just to clarify, if anybody didn't know, Rick and myself, we both actually play Destiny.
Every once in a while.
Holy crap.
We're not very good at it, but, you know, we play. We're about even on that.
Yeah.
When we're not sick and throwing up and claiming after drinking a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something about calling blue against a mono yellow deck?
Something like that. Yeah, that happened too.
He pulled a gray card anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I pulled a gray card. It didn't really matter, but
He could have called chartreuse and it would have the same effect. So.
pretty much.
But, you know, it's cool.
Yeah.
He won that game. So
I got that one.
that's the secret tech. You throw your opponent off their game by calling random colors in
Yeah.
a monocolored deck.
That's what I was going for.
I don't even need this Kylo activation to beat you.
I'm going to call a mixture of black and white. Okay.
That's gray.
That would just be great.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not up on my color wheels, but I'm no artist.
Purple minus the blue. Okay.
Green.
Right. Yeah, so
Anyways.
there was that.
Yeah, that was a thing. I mean, I'm still kind of sick, which is frustrating because that stupid bug is lingering.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that too, maybe. And I didn't even hang out with you guys enough.
Yeah, I put enough vitamin C in my body during that week to completely ward off whatever the heck you guys had, so I'm kind of happy about that.
Todd or Rick doing the con smart, apparently.
Yeah, whatever those gummies were that y'all got on the first day, and we just started eating them like candy.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. It said, like, only have 3 for the day, and Todd, like, popped 6 in his mouth. I was like, you might not want to do that. And then he swallows them. He's like, what?
No, I felt fine.
Does the
That
body
day.
good?
I probably should have taken more the next day.
Yeah.
Probably should have. So anyways, let's go through how we did for the whole event. And we'll start obviously with Tuesday because one of our podcasts was pretty much exclusively complaining about the hyperspace report that I'm still very kind of bitter about because I've been drinking my sick guy tea out of the X-Wing mug. And as cool as that mug is, it still really frustrates me to think how much money and time we spent to show up to something that was fairly useless. However, we were able to do the Chance Cube Open. So, I mean, I guess we can talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I guess somebody here's got to be a winner at something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you even beat somebody really notable there, too.
Yeah, nobody really that big. Some dude named Mads. I think
he probably scrubbed out at Worlds, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's done any better than you have at Worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. I don't think he has.
No, I'm not talking bad about Mads. I love Mads. Good people. Good people.
Yeah, that whole Your Destiny crew was a bunch of fun this weekend. Or this weekend, whatever weekend that was.
It would be last weekend.
Last weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically. It is really cool how we basically started Worlds hanging out with them unknowingly. And then at the end, we hung out with them both on Sunday.
Unknowingly?
Well, so Sunday we hung out after Worlds was over. But then on Monday when we went to the airport, I had a flight out at 4 and so did they. So when we dropped off Todd, Rick, and Andrew Larcher, they just showed up in the airport and they're like, hey, we're going to the mall. And I'm like, hey, I'm stuck here until 4. Let's hang out. So I spent like the whole afternoon with them at the Mall of America before I flew home on Monday.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of weird because it's like we started the week with them and then I got to end the week with them, and it was so much fun. Like the Your Destiny crew, all the European, and we had the German players, the Spanish national champ. Like it was so much fun hanging out with all of them because
that guy.
They're so cool.
I miss the Spanish national champion. That guy's awesome.
It's like, I mean, I can play this game, but you guys, cocaine is a drug. That guy.
Can we say that?
Yeah, I mean, not telling anybody to do it, but apparently you can.
You're gonna get hit with the Utini on that one.
I mean, apparently it's what it takes to win the Spanish nationals, right? That guy went from like 0 to 120 in like 2 seconds, and he was probably my favorite person in the world.
He was great. His description of that deck Sunday night was amazing. We can't repeat any of it on the air either because it was just laced with profanity, more than I normally use.
What deck was this that you were talking about?
Sometimes you go 3-0, sometimes you go 3. And bleep it, right? Some crazy combo deck.
Rick's going to be running it Friday night.
Oh,
up here.
are you talking about the Bazine Natal double Dark Advisor and a Stormtrooper?
What?
Okay. Hold on. I got to tell this because this is way Kessel running. So what was it? Monday was the day. Man, a lot happened on Monday. I tried to forget because of 1 hour. Anyways, so we're hanging out before the hyperspace report, and we didn't know the Your Destiny guys. We didn't really know anybody. There's just a bunch of random people that we created friendships with through the course of the week. So we get in, Rick and Todd go smoke in the front. I go in, see who's there. Like, I think Jason from Chance Cube was there, Amanda from iRebel. There's a couple people from the Destiny community, but it was fairly empty. There might have been like 30 people when we got there. And I mean, eventually it filled up for sure. But I saw mods playing against one of his partners. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Klaus. Anyways, Mods was playing Rayla, and his opponent was playing this really jank deck. And I was like, what the heck is this? And the entire premise of the deck is to draw like your entire deck in like 2 turns with a bunch of draw cards and using the Dark Advisor. Mm-hmm. And then when your opponent claims because they think you're just out of gas, you have a bunch of resources. You roll out, I don't know, Crime Lord. You kill their guy turn 1, and then you do it again on turn 2 and you win the game because you use Ace in the Hole.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, that only really works with 2 characters, but
yeah. They said if you play against a 3-wide deck, you just concede immediately because you can't win. There's no way to kill them. But if you play a 2-character list, you're going for the most jank glass cannon combo deck in the world because if they mitigate that die, you immediately lose.
Yeah, well, sometimes you go 3-0, sometimes you go 0-3.
Is that what he played at Worlds?
No.
Oh, but it was really funny because Mods lost to that when they were doing a Funsies deck, and I watched it happen. I'm like, oh my god, is this what I think it is? Turn 1, Ray goes down. Turn 2, Ayla goes down. It's like, good game. So it was pretty funny. It's the most janky deck I've ever seen in Destiny. Also, having 4 wide, like, you have a lot of health, you have a lot of targets. It was dumb. It was very dumb. So anyone's listening, that's the deck. You just put a bunch of whatever the heck you can. I think bartering was in there, so everybody draws. And I don't know. It was dumb. It was super dumb.
But sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't. But if you play vehicles, you done goofed. I mean, I guess you could kill a character turn 1, kill a character turn 2, and then just try and god roll out the damage on the Dark Advisors.
I don't think that's going to work too well for you.
I don't know. What's even funnier is
you have to play that Crime Lord.
Yeah, you might actually have to put it on Bazine.
Yeah,
possibly. But then she dies, and you done goofed.
Well, I mean, it's your only way to win at that point. So
yeah, right.
Sometimes
what's even weirder is like I don't know. The deck is just super bizarre. It's fun to watch, but it's like I don't know. It's not by any means competitive, but it is really fun. Like, take that to your locals and just mess with somebody's mind.
Oh, well.
So anywho, back to Monday. So that happens. We do hyperspace report. We go back to the hotel, and I take a nap because I'm sick as a dog. You guys go and play the Chance Cube Open. So tell us a little bit about how that event went.
I'll go first because mine's pretty anticlimactic. So I decided to take Qui-Gon, Yoda to Worlds and not a whole lot else because I didn't want to change stuff, and then proceeded to get my butt handed to me by all the Raylas and the close quarters assaults that you really can't do anything about unless you get out before them, and then completely scrapped that idea after not doing so well in that there tournament. But I got some promos out of it, and Jason ran a really good tournament, especially with it was just him there, and then you guys, Klaus and Sugi, did the commentary for him. So I mean, hats off to him for running what is like a 26-man tournament,
26 or 27,
yeah, with just him doing it. So that was pretty fun. Definitely got a little taste of what the Worlds might look like, but obviously there was a lot of different stuff between those 2 days, or 4 days really.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was fun. I mean, Todd did a lot better than I did, so I'll let him go on that.
Yeah, I mean, I played Kylo Talzin. It was a deck that we had been running around with around here. In fact, one of our local guys has been playing it pretty much exclusively. And I took it from him and made some adjustments, gave it back to him, and he played it and won one of the spot gloss tournaments we had here at the shop. So I went ahead and took a copy of it with me out there, and that's what I played. It was more with the Holocron package, no weapon upgrades, all Holocron, and Force abilities, Rise Agains, and Witch Magics, and 27 health Kylos, and just nonsense. But it's very effective. It works very well. I felt really comfortable with it. I actually, I think what was it, 5 rounds we played?
Yeah, it was 5.
Yeah, so I 5-0'd that tournament. I beat Rick. I beat Garrett Larson with it. He was playing a Yoda Hondo.
That was a fun match to watch. That was a good game.
Yeah, that was a really good game.
I scooped it, Todd.
Oh. Yeah, he scooped because I worked him.
Yeah, after he did.
Really?
Yeah.
After he did enough damage to kill me, but he still scooped.
Oh, so I actually beat Rick the old-fashioned way then. So I've got something on you.
No, he beat the crap out of me. It wasn't even a game. It wasn't even a game.
Yeah, it was brutal. And then after that, a couple more rounds in the finals, I got to play against Mads, and I played against his Rayla deck. That was also an epic game. That one went all the way down to time, coming down to me actually discarding my last card to try and get lethal on him, and I got it. It was just really good games. I had a lot of fun in that tournament. I wish I could have played Worlds.
Did you do best of 3 with that one?
No, it was just a single.
Okay.
It just best of 1.
Yeah, it was 5 rounds, singleton. There wasn't a top cut. So, I mean, like, not too different from, like, a locals.
Yeah.
Especially since what you started at 6 or 7?
7:30?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, we didn't get done till, like, 10:30 or 11. So if they had done a top cut, like, we would have been there till, like, 12 or 1 o'clock. And we were kind of tired because we got in at, like, 10 that morning, and then we drove over for hyperspace, and we're sick and lots of other things, but it was a fun event. I showed up later, like during the Garrett game, because I took that nap, and then I woke up and I hung out in the room. I couldn't go back to sleep, and I started watching the coverage because I was bored, and I felt like Mods was just desperately needing someone to talk to, so I took a bunch of medicine.
You mean Klaus?
Klaus, yeah, that's right. Because Klaus was just by himself. I'm like, does he not have a co-host? Like, no one to talk to? So I swung over and I brought tissues and water and halls. I was like, you know what? I don't really care, and I had a blast. We got to talk on stream. We got to talk off stream. Like we just kind of started this relationship and friendship, and I was like, man, this guy's really cool. I'm digging this. And then Todd wins, and then we went out to the bar afterwards in the hotel, and that was really fun because those guys are just really fun dudes. Got to meet Danny from 3-Man Meta. That guy is a goof.
Yeah, he is. I got to talk to him a little bit too. He's the fun guy.
Yeah, Danny's a solid. Like, all the 3-Man Meta guys are great, but Danny's just super silly. I love hanging out with him.
I learned what an Eiffel Tower is from Danny.
No.
Yeah, that's
moving
also not.
that is not family friendly.
Beyond.
Todd lives a sheltered life.
That is not true, and that's why I'm so confused.
I find it hard to believe. So yeah, Monday was really stacked of fun things to do. Tuesday.
That was Tuesday, though, by the way.
That was Tuesday.
Yeah,
that was Tuesday. Yeah. My brain. Yeah, I'm still on NyQuil and Halls. So yeah, that was Tuesday. Wednesday, nothing happens with Destiny. So what? We show up to check in. Fire pods? Anything of?
Yeah, there were pods Wednesday because I came Wednesday night, and you guys were doing pods, so definitely had pods.
Yeah, still getting my butt kicked with Qui-Gon.
Yep, you were.
And,
Yeah, that's right. You were
That's
still on the
when you
Qui-Gon train.
basically said, I ain't doing it. And you decided to go to Boba 7th, right?
I said, screw this. Let's see what we can put together with this random stuff that Todd brought. And we threw together a Boba 7th list that was pretty good. Ended up having 10 one-ofs in that. So
Yeah, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? We changed my mill deck. I think it was Wednesday.
I think it was a combination of both, because I think Wednesday you talked to...
I talked to John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you talked to Magnuson about it, and then you made some changes there, and then we made a couple more the next day.
Okay, so yeah, my story for the mill deck is actually kind of across the entire week. So I was set on Jar Jar, Rose, Yoda. I wasn't set on the final spread of cards. I hadn't done any testing whatsoever. Like, I'd played 0 games before Worlds. We get to Worlds, and I really didn't like the theory crafting of what the deck did. So I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday I talked to you guys, and we were getting into patience, because that's the big one I remember our discussion. So I had patience in the deck. I was trying to get rid of it, but Todd kept me on the patience train. And I'm pretty sure you're right. I think it was Wednesday. I met up with John Magnuson from the Destiny Council at the FFG headquarters, and we just talked a little bit. He was telling me about what's going on with his crew and their stuff, and I was talking about our crew and our stuff. And I showed him my deck, and I was like, what do you think about what's in here? Because I feel like there's some problems. And immediately he picked out the biggest problem I was having. That's too many spot yellow cards. I was running 2 Entangles, 2 Friends in Low Places, and
With just Jar Jar.
with just a Jar Jar and 2 easy pickings. And he was like, if Jar Jar goes down, 6 of your cards are useless. And I'm like, yep, that happens a lot. So we spent some good time talking about what to do. He made some suggestions, which I heeded 2 of them. So we took out, and this was probably one of the bigger impactful plays of like Worlds. We took out Friends in Low Places for Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder, which
It's an amazing card.
that card helped me win quite a few games.
That's how you beat Zion.
Well, not only is
like hands down.
no, I also stripped Rick of his upgrades too. Like,
Oh, sure.
That card won me the game, both of those games, on top of Vandalized. Vandalized was also on the discussion. It was not in the deck, and I wanted it to be in the deck. So we had talked about pulling out Entangle. No. Yeah, we talked about pulling out 1 Entangle. We talked about pulling out 1 Entrenched. I didn't have Caution in the deck, so that would be the swap. And then I needed to put Vandalize in. I don't remember what I took out, so it wasn't that impactful. But between talking to Rick and Todd, John Magnuson, and Andrew Larcher, because he had recommended me putting in 1 copy of Mind Trick, all those things happened across the board. And so after having that discussion, I was able to play 1 game with James, who was playing Yoda Hondo. Actually, we played 2 games just on the side. I think it was Thursday or Friday. We were just goofing off. And I lost both of those games handily. And then I went back to the room and realized I was missing 3 cards from my deck. I was missing...
Like, you actually didn't have them? You were running a 27 card
I was running a
deck?
27 card deck. I had no Chance Cubes and no C3P. I was like, I wondered where those cards were.
Oh, those are some good cards.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I mean, I lost. I understand the matchup, but I put those cards in before World. So I technically never played my deck 100% until the first game Saturday at Worlds, which was very, very scary. And we'll get to that later on in the podcast. But the mill deck I brought that went 3-0 and then 0-3 on me has like this really neat history of it showed up to Worlds and it was not what it ended up being. And so thank you to everyone who helped contribute. That was really cool. And it's a scary deck. I love it. It's nasty. So anyways, moving on to Wednesday, firing off pods. The only thing I can remember that was impactful about Wednesday was FFG was really, really bad about space for the pods.
On Wednesday, it was more okay, right? Because
Wednesday
Wednesday
wasn't too bad. It was Thursday that just was horrible.
Yeah.
They were doing
because that's the day I was doing
Armada
pods
on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean there was hour and a half to 2 hour long waits for some pods, and I mean granted it was just because Armada takes up so much space, and they're absolutely they deserve to have space as well. So I'm not saying that, but it was just so many people wanting to play Destiny pods that there just wasn't enough room for it. And
Destiny was the best way to make tickets too, though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, tell everyone about how you could get tickets, because it was insane.
Yeah, I mean, you got 200 tickets for a pod split between the 8 players, based on your record, 10 for just signing up for it, and then 1 for each win. So you could if you 3-0'd the pod, you would leave with 40 tickets. If you got with some buddies and was able to make 8-man pods fire regularly with the 8 of you, you could split them up and kind of make out that way with not having any stress with it. We were, I wanted to definitely get some games in with the Boba 7th list, so we definitely ran as many pods as we could. But unfortunately, that day there just wasn't enough space for it. I think we got in probably 2 or 3 pods that whole day.
Yeah,
and two of those were with people that we were the only people in the pods. We knew everybody in the pods. We were firing them as fast as we could, getting everything done and turned back in, and we still were only able to get 2 or 3 in.
I mean, we went over there a little later that day too, though, because we were watching the beginning of the main event. So it wasn't until like
that's Thursday.
Oh yeah,
we're on Wednesday. You hadn't shown up yet. You were driving.
Yeah, Thursday was the real tough pod day, but Wednesday you could get in enough if you wanted to. And I mean, there was just standard pods firing left and right. At that point, I don't think anybody had even done any draft pods. I think I got into one that was like 4-man draft pod.
Yeah.
And that was horrible. But
that would take way longer.
This was also before the prize wall had been revealed.
That's true.
So nobody knew anything about it.
How much Hondo cost?
Yeah, we didn't know what the price support was. We didn't know what the cost was. Eventually on Wednesday, they did do kind of a soft preview, and so we knew that the battle droids were there. We knew the tokens. We knew the Kanan. We got the Hondo reveal, which we were kind of expecting more, but it is what it is. And at that point, we started speculating based off GQs and things that Hondo would probably be in the 100. Everything else would probably be like 40 or 50, and for the most part, we were pretty right on the spot, give or take 20 or so tickets.
Yeah, I mean the Destiny stuff was definitely priced higher than the other stuff, but you could get more Destiny games in than you could the others. So like the Armada, Imperial Assault, and stuff like that were down in like the 15 ticket level, whereas all the Destiny stuff, I think the minimum was 30?
No, you could get some of the old.
I mean, there were some really, really crappy promos that everyone already has that were in that level. But
I was going to say, unfortunately, the coolest thing for me, it was like the dial for Armada, because you can use it in Legion, which I'm starting to play because of you, Nick.
Don't look at me.
I'm looking at you. Hey. But it's got 6 turns, and then it's got blue and red player alternation, and that was like 15 tokens, so that was pretty cool. There were some cool things you could get for a few tokens.
You had the battlefields,
it wasn't
class
bad.
Battlefields that were 50.
Yeah, those are nice.
Had to pick up one of those for my Boba 7th list. So.
I didn't actually get enough to buy those, but yes, that was a really good deal. Because I only grinded pods on Thursday, and I was like, I'm done with this. Because it got so bad time-wise, and Friday I was just playing, and Saturday I was like, I'm taking a break.
That OP mat for 90 tickets was really nice too.
Yeah, that's the other one I wanted to consider. That does look pretty nice.
I'm just gonna have to win that from a tournament at Total Access Games, I guess.
From where?
Total Access Games.
Yes.
From where?
Total Access Games.
Oh, they're gonna run a tournament for that?
Here they might.
Where is that place?
It's in Central Virginia.
Oh wow! What's the name again?
All right, I'm gonna hit you with the Otini on this one. This is ridiculous. Shameless plug. My gosh.
Games.
Now, maybe the Wilhelm scream because it's longer than a curse word. Where's it at? Wow! Can you say that one more
Product
time?
placement.
Wow! Yeah, right? No.
But yeah, I mean,
good Lord. So
Wednesday, I mean, it was grinding pods, so
yeah, there wasn't like it was hanging out, grinding pods, nothing crazy. Thursday is where things got interesting because we are now at day 1 for Destiny, and we saw Sabine at the top tables all day long.
Yeah, which basically scared the pants out of anybody that was going to play Mill. Like I thought Mill was going to be huge at like coming into it, because having tested a little bit, and I know some people were considering taking the Reek and Yoda deck that was been getting a little more popular on the down lows. Like nobody could bring that deck. Like if you did, you weren't going to do well, because it was just like Sabine and aggro everywhere. Like so, I'd say the meta on Thursday was an eye opener. I was not expecting it to be what it was.
Yeah, Minion did take the Rican Mill, and then ended up going 3-3 with it.
Yeah,
and if he couldn't,
was he playing Thursday too?
I think he was playing Friday.
It was either Thursday or Friday. I don't remember exactly. That whole thing's a blur.
Friday wasn't much better.
I thought he was Thursday.
I think he might have been. It's kind of a blur for me. I wasn't feeling real well from then on.
I think Saturday was the best day to have taken Mill. Not that it was still a great day to have, like, in general. I don't know that it was the right option.
No, Saturday was the best day. Trust me, it was.
But yeah,
I had all the matchups I wanted.
I mean, if he couldn't do it, I don't know anybody could. So
yeah. Yeah.
I was so close.
You did just as well.
I know.
Well, I think
was
one
so
mill deck
close,
made
though.
it into the day 2, like only one, pretty much, and it was maybe there were 2, but the one that stood out was that one that was like oh gosh, it was Ayla, Wookiee Warrior, and Riken. Yeah, that was the deck.
It made it to day 2. Are you sure?
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
Because that deck, it's not really a mill deck. What it is I got a bajillion health, and I'm just gonna survive, and I'll get mill what I can with Riken, but otherwise, just kind of like, yeah, re-roll. You're gonna lose. You're never gonna kill me. You're just gonna lose. And I think you went 4-2.
So, anyways, Thursday. It's heavy aggro, lots of Sabine, which was interesting because a lot of people who were playing on different days were starting to talk about, do we worry about a Sabine heavy worlds? Like, what do we do? I mean, it wasn't just Sabine. There was other stuff, the, classic Boba 7th. There was other things. It's just Sabine was the most prevalent at the top tables of all of the decks being played. So how did you guys feel?
It was 2 undefeateds on Thursday as well with Sabine.
Yeah,
I believe.
2 undefeateds were both Sabine players.
It definitely.
Like, I knew I was playing Mill, so I didn't have anything to change to.
Or was it? Wait, maybe it wasn't Thursday. Maybe Thursday was that when?
No, Thursday was Sabine, because it was Thursday was Sabine, Friday was Yoda Hondo, Saturday was stuff.
They're 2 undefeated.
Saturday was just a lot of things.
What day did Edwin play? Was he Thursday? Because whatever day he played, he obviously he was a 6-0.
Pretty sure he was Saturday. Sure. Was he Friday?
I don't remember.
I think he was Friday, because I believe Luke Magnuson and Andrew were 6-0 on Saturday. Both the Destiny Council guys.
They were. You're right. So it wasn't that.
Edwin would have been on Friday.
It was Matt Elvis and somebody else on Friday. I think it was him. I think it was Edwin on Friday, and then I think both Sabines were on Thursday.
I know that there was enough ranged in those 2 first days that it made me dust off some deflects into Saturday.
That feels kind of good though, right?
Yeah, it didn't do really. It didn't do really anything for day 1C, but it would have been good on the day 2.
The other one.
So
yeah, we teched him in with the idea that if we made it to day 2, we would be in good shape against the field. That was kind of the advantage of playing on the final day, right? You got to see what was there and try and prepare. And I felt like my deck was really good. I just wasn't really good.
Yeah.
So
that's what sickness will do.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I ended up with 10 1-ofs in my deck, was just teching against the field. And the deck itself played perfectly fine. I had everything that I needed when I needed it. Had the 1-of Feel Your Anger when Bowie Session rolled 3 blanks with his what's her name? The white chick's deck.
Talzin or Aura?
Well, both. But rolled the 3 blanks with Aura, and I just kind of flipped it there, and he was like, yeah, that's pretty much game.
Ooh.
With the time lock. But yeah, I mean, the deck itself, as crazy as it looked on paper, ran exceptionally well. It just didn't want to roll for me at all. I mean, that's what's going to happen with those 2 characters. They don't match up extremely well. They're just 2 really aggressive characters with a bunch of dice that you can hit with. So, I mean, like
that comp definitely feels more role dependent than a lot of other like you just kind of you can live and die by your rolls with that one, which is one of the reasons I don't really love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where you just roll a bunch of 2s and you steamroll your opponent, and there's a bunch of times you roll a bunch of disrupts and can't really do anything with it, and the Yoda Hondo matchup is winnable, but it feels so bad. Like, you cannot play an upgrade until one of their characters is dead, and hopefully by that time they don't have like.
You gotta play an upgrade and hope you don't get easy picked and just slam 8 damage round one, right?
No, you can't. You just can't. I've tried it both ways.
I mean, if you do, it's good.
I've tried it both ways. Like, it just you do so much better when you just roll off your dice there and just not take damage, and hopefully they just don't ramp too hard on you, and you can kill a character, and then you can be okay. But the 2 cunnings that'll hit you on turn 1 or 2 kind of.
I mean, once a character dies in Yoda Hondo, that deck's just dead, I feel like, for the most part, which is one of the reasons I just couldn't bring myself to play it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it did well at the tournament. So, I mean, not well enough to win, but definitely well enough to get you to day 2. And
it did well.
And
There were a lot though in day 2, and only one made it into the top 16, and that was one of the 660 guys from the Destiny Council who had actually went 2 losses in day 2 and still made it. So like that's just how it shows you how bad Yoda Hondo did in day 2. And there were 2 Yoda Hondos that were undefeated, and the other one of the guys from Chicago, he went 3 losses in day 2 after going 6-0 in day 1, and then he didn't even make the cut. So like I think he's the only 6-0 that didn't make the. No, there was the Sabine didn't make the cut either because there's only one.
Sabine. No, there were 2. There were 3 Sabines.
Okay, so he was the only. So then the one Yoda Hondo player is the only, I think, 6-0 that didn't make the cut. So that's just kind of telling that like Yoda Hondo good for day 1, maybe not as good in day 2.
So yeah, that's moving into Friday. We saw Friday was very different. We were wondering if we were going to see a lot of Sabine, and Yoda Hondo is actually the top deck in the tables on Friday, which was like, that's my nightmare matchup. It's not impossible, but I hate Yoda Hondo because it's just, I can't kill anybody. So having to deal with constantly giving them money is bad, and like taking damage is bad. Like it's just bad. Conveniently, I never played a Yoda Hondo, which thank God, but I personally was a little worried because I don't mind Sabine Ezra, but Yoda Hondo I feel is way worse. I'm probably insane for saying that considering my deck feeds Sabine, but at least I can mitigate away her damage. Like I can't mitigate away specials very easily. So
I don't know. I would much rather play a Yoda Hondo than a Sabine with a mill deck.
I'd rather play Sabine than a Yoda Hondo personally.
You are insane.
I am insane.
Easy Pickings definitely does a lot more work in that deck or against that deck than it does against Sabine. So I mean, the only
every mitigation card does more work against Yoda Hondo than against Sabine.
I mean, your garbage shoots are going to be garbage, but you know it's you have a chance, right?
If Sabine even rolls, reasonably well, then you basically don't get a chance to mitigate, and that's the frustrating part.
Oh, you got Jar Jar.
No, I mean,
not when they resolve their dice right after they roll them in.
They ambush you out and stuff.
I mean, Jar Jar is nice as an answer to Never Tell Me the Odds. It'll slow them down and not allow them to get that off as easily. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, but I mean, a smart Sabine player, when they have that Never Tell Me the Odds, is going to be like, all right, first thing, go ahead and activate that Jar Jar.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
just get this out of the way.
Yeah, let's just handle this and make sure we wreck you right here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thankful on Saturday that you kept me away from all those Yoda Hondos because I might have had a world's table flip.
You're welcome.
Kinda.
I only played one, but that was enough for me. I didn't let him play against that deck either.
That's funny because I wanted that matchup. I wanted that matchup, and I wanted the Sabine matchups. I felt really good in both.
I actually felt fine versus Sabine, but not versus Yoda Hondo.
You played on Friday, didn't you?
Something about I played on Friday.
So tell us a little bit about that because Saturday was all 3 of us, so we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So I think still one of the crazier things, the whole weekend, vehicles didn't show up. Like as popular as people thought it was going to be, it didn't show up at all. Like there was people playing it. There's a few people here and there. It wasn't super popular, and it wasn't at top tables for the most part. There were only a few of us. There's a handful that made day 2 still, but Ray Ayla was still like one of those decks that just was there in strong every day. It was there big on Friday. I never actually got to play against it because for the most part it wasn't doing great except for a few standout people, but I never actually got matched up against it. I got matched up against some of the Boba decks, the Thrawn Telzin, Yoda Hondo, Joe from the Hyperloops, and a Qui-Gon Yoda. That's pretty much my day 1. And, all those matchups were fine except for playing against Joe's, vehicle hybrid deck. Like, the way that deck worked out versus my 4-wide Guardian vehicle deck, my deck was too slow, and he'd just be able to pinch off a character every round after the first round, and I'd slowly fall further and further behind. But yeah, everything else on Friday was just kind of a good mix of 2-character decks. That's just what it was. There's a few people playing their standout stuff. It was a good mix of 2-character decks. And Yoda Hondo did do really well that day. Didn't really have to face any until the last round, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, my deck wanted to see the 2-character decks, pretty much every single one except for Yoda Hondo. And Yoda Hondo's was manageable as long as I didn't run into Cunning Force Wave, because that's like the absolute nightmare for a 3 or 4-character deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising how... I mean, I'm not saying that you're a bad player, but how well you did on day 1 when the day before you were just getting it handed to you in every game that I saw you play.
Oh, yeah. My last day of testing was the most stressful thing ever, because I'm sitting here I do not have a good record today. I am doing terrible. I don't even know what I went on the day. I might have been 50-50 for the day, and that was against decks that I thought should have been good matchups. Like, I was terrified of Qui-Gon Yoda at the end of the day after just getting ripped by it like 3 times. Once playing against Larcher, once playing in a pod, and once playing with Flaccid Baron over at the house that night as a test game. Actually, I did beat Flaccid, but it was like by the tiniest margin that it shouldn't have been. So like that was like a nightmare that I did not expect. Just, this is a 2-character deck, it should be fine. I should be able to take it out. Luckily, the Qui-Gon deck that I played during the actual tournament was built notably different. It was built a little bit more around putting sticks out, rolling out, and dealing your damage, instead of it being about, I'm just going to ping you and you ain't going to do anything about it. And you're just going to die very slowly. Like, hyper ping, using Yoda specials for flip ping every single time is what really did it in. And so playing it more like your traditional melee deck with the Yoda as a support was actually more what I wanted to see, because I can control that. I can control sticks. I can control damage, especially if it's not being force speeded out. What I can't control is the constant pinging of little stuff, because I will eventually, like in some of the test games, I was losing characters to Qui-Gon Yoda on round 1, and that felt terrible, because that's not what I would call a high burst deck in most instances.
It can be,
but yeah. So I was much more surprised at that matchup. It was not super close. I think we almost went to time, but I ended up having finished him off, and I had plenty of health left in my own at the end. But yeah, like overall, going into Friday, I was freaking out because everything felt awful. But I don't know if like the deck just wasn't clicking as much the night before or what, or if it's the people I was playing against during the day of versus in my practice matches. And it's hard to say, but things worked out very smoothly for all, like everything went exactly as I would have hoped for the most part. I mean, the worst game probably in terms of like draw and stuff was probably the very first round, where I played against a Thrawn Telzin and I didn't draw vehicles for like the first 2.5 rounds. Like, I think I drew one in round 2, but he had a rocket launcher out at the end of round 1, and I'm like, I can't throw my only vehicle down until he resolves that rocket launch for the round, and then he like discarded my only vehicle. I was like, well, there's another round with no vehicle. Round 3, I get a resistance bomber, which is indirect, which is not what I need to see to be able to finish off a character. So it wasn't even until round 4 that I actually started like sticking vehicles on the field. And just because of the raw health the deck has and how good of the removal has, like Thrawn Telzin has its few action sheets, but the rounds that's not action sheet, I'm going to remove your dice for the most part. I have enough removal that even if you call 1, I'm probably going to have another removal card out there. So, especially if I'm not drawing vehicles. So like that one was a really good example of what the deck likes to do is, hey, if you have a really bad game and you draw terribly, you can still win. And that's kind of one of the things I liked versus Ayla Rose. Sometimes you have a bad first round, second round, third round, don't ramp vehicles, you're going to start losing characters. With no vehicles, you're not going to have any way to come back. You don't have the health and as good of mitigation to just really hang in there as long as you need to. So that was one of the times where just the extra characters alone really just clung me into victory there. But yeah, otherwise everything went like most of the other games went. I got my ramps fairly early. I didn't have any times where I was drawn too deep into the deck. I had a great start versus Joe from the Hyperloops when I was playing against him, but it was a bad matchup. There's not much I could do. If the stars aligned, I could have won it. But when we're both that good of players, I'd expect him to win that 9 times out of 10.
All right, so that was Friday. So we saw that Sabine was popular day 1. Yoda Hondo was popular day 2 with vehicles and other things thrown in the top tables. So we're going into Saturday. Now, Thursday night we had the 3v3, which was a lot of fun. We saw some weird stuff hit the tables. I mean, we could talk about the 3v3 and the happy hour for a long time, but that was definitely a highlight, seeing some very, very interesting decks on top of meta decks. I don't know, like it was just a great community event. Everyone was really friendly. We had a ton of fun. I laughed so much that night. Just my deck.
Which one?
The 3v3. Yeah, my deck was goofy as all get out. And I played.
I didn't even actually play on that one.
Yeah, you missed out. It was a lot of fun.
I was too busy panicking. Like I was in no, as much as I wanted to. I was like, yeah, this is fine. I'll be fine playing that beforehand. And then it's like the day before, I'm like, no, I'm screwed. I need to be practicing my deck.
Which was funny because you and Elrathian hung out at the 3v3.
Yeah, well, that was after having played a bunch of games and pods and stuff, just trying to get some sanity. And I needed to eat something, so I needed to come out and say hi and all that.
So we'll talk about the 3v3 in greater detail later show. But if, a lot of people are asking, what do we do now with the Worlds? It's over. We don't know when Way of the Force is coming out. The next big events for the GQs are May 24th through 28th. You've got DreamHack in June. June's got Texas, Ohio, Seattle. Los Angeles is in July. Houston is in July. Comic-Con's in July. But I mean, those are not many states out of the entire Americas. And, if you're listening and you're not in America and you're not coming to a GQ, there is a lull for Destiny. We don't know when store champs are coming. So
if they're coming.
Yeah, that is
it's even going to be
that is a true statement. Yeah, we don't know.
I think that's the bigger question because they had been well past announced by now last year.
Yeah.
And they're already changing it up for X-Wing and that.
So if you're wondering, what should we do? What can we do? I think the 3v3 is a great option. It's a lot of fun. We spent not that much time building our decks, but I know a lot of people spent a lot of time going over deck construction. They looked at, how the matchups went. They actually played 3v3. I'm talking about the Tulsa guys. Eric Wainwright, I'm looking at you. I know they did some testing and some prep work and they were really excited.
They scrubbed out though.
Well, so it wasn't a double elimination bracket. It was kind of weird. If you lost your first game, you went into the losers bracket. But then if you won out after the first round, if you're in the winners bracket and you lose one game, you immediately just stop. So
that's weird. Why did you do it that way?
I don't know. Well, I didn't do it. Eric did all that stuff. So if we ever actually did it like a tournament, we would do a double elimination bracket. But it worked out because we started at 8 and we were done by 10:30. If we had have done in a double elimination bracket, we probably would have been there till
it would have taken way longer.
Yeah, it would have taken infinitely longer. Since this was a casual event, everyone brought the prize support. There was nothing really expensive on the line. The way Eric did it was perfectly fine. You were guaranteed a minimum of 2 games, and it was a lot of fun. It was really neat because the Double Blanks guys and Mike from SW Destiny / Jedi Trials, they actually went undefeated. And the funny thing was they didn't have a team the day of. We were hanging out it was Thursday. So Jay played on Thursday. I think he went 1-3. We went to lunch. So we go to this place called New Bohemia. I'm backing up a day, but we go to this German place and the bratwurst was amazing. I didn't drink the beer, but I know Todd and all the other guys said the beer was amazing. So we go for lunch. We're hanging out. We were taking a break and we were going to come back to play pods. And Jay said, you know what, screw it. I'm done. I'm just dropping. Let's get more beer. And then we started playing Destiny. And then happy hour came and they wanted more beer. And then we got some more food. And then we got one of their giant pretzels, which was amazing. And then we came back because Rick and Todd kept bothering me about pods.
Yeah, kept yelling at you because you were supposed to come back and not take a 4-hour lunch break.
Yeah, so we took a 4.5-hour lunch break
while we were trying to grind pods.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's not just throw us under the bus. Let's make sure we clarify that you said we're going to lunch. Go ahead and sign us up for a pod.
We did go to lunch. It was a really long lunch.
And then y'all took 3.5 hours to go to lunch while waiting in a pod.
Oh, we took longer than that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But
it was all afternoon.
But when we came back and Rick and Todd were mad at me, they were also hungry.
Because we finished the pod before you got back.
But they were hungry, and we took them back to New Bohemia for dinner, which, as I recall, you very much enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, beer and brats, it's kind of hard not to enjoy that. But
shucks, you're going to hang me up there. Beer and meat?
So in the long run, it was okay. But yeah, I ditched you on pods. I couldn't help it. I wasn't driving.
I was pissed.
I didn't drive. So anyways, I Kessel run that to go back to the first Kessel run.
Wait. And you took half the pod with you.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you that we were short on the pod.
Yeah, because that was the rest of those guys were the other half.
And I bought the entire pod to make sure we could keep it so we didn't have to lose it because they weren't there.
Yeah, that's true. It was me, it was Mike, and Chris from Double Blanks. Anyways, so we're sitting at lunch, eating delicious bratwurst stuff with mac and cheese, and they were talking. It was funny because both of them were talking about how they wanted to play but didn't have a team. I'm like, guys, there's 3 of you right here. And they're like, oh, okay. So this was funny because Jay wasn't super happy with his, tournament standings. He was having a really good time with the beer. And then as soon as we're done with lunch, we go back for dinner. He has more beer. And then we go to the 3v3 where he has more beer. And apparently he went undefeated. Like, he didn't lose a single game. So we think that's like the secret sauce, no pun intended, for Jay. Like, get a little buzz, and then he's just really good at Destiny somehow.
Yeah, he should have grabbed one at, what's it called? FFG, because they sell that there too.
Yeah. We told him that. He was like, oh, well, tough beans.
Yeah, it was pretty funny when he was like, round 1, picture at the tables. Round 2, pictures at the tables. Round 3, pictures with beer.
Yep. Yeah, he was doing like coverage of his Worlds event, and like his third round was, I'm at New Bohemia with these guys. All right, anyway, so that was Thursday. We're going back to Friday. Friday was the happy hour. Friday was just insane. Just being sick, trying to do coverage, and then the happy hour was just packed from the get-go. Like, by far, my favorite thing was Jeremy Zorn walking in. I was like, I did not expect that.
And he was there. He was like the last person. He was there till the end with everybody else. He was there.
He shut it down.
He was there longer than we were. We left and he was still there.
I mean, he probably needed to get a few more drinks in for another day of Destiny. But he hung out all night, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I got to give props to Jeremy because, I heard people asking him questions for rules and giving him suggestions and complaining about, why his way of the Force. And, he just sat there and smiled and hung out. And, I would have been happy if he came in for an hour and then left. But no, he stayed the whole freaking time. He hung out with fans. He hung out with content creators. He was there to party. Like, he was just having a good time talking with folks. And it was really cool because, it's that kind of community that we want with FFG to show like we're all in this together. Also, another really fun thing was watching the European guys play volleyball. And every time they hit the ball, it went out of bounds, completely out of bounds. And then you see like 6 grown men running around the grass trying to find the ball, and not like one of them almost ran into the street and got run over by a car. I was like, don't do that. I mean, there was just
they don't have cars in Europe, so they're not used to that. Sort of.
I mean,
they said we were bad for killing the environment because we rented a car, but we got everywhere, at least 30 minutes before they did. So yeah, that's one for America right there.
America. So yeah, the happy hour was just so much fun. We got to talk to tons of people. I mean, do you guys, any other highlights from Friday before we go into Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, 130 people showing up to our little party. That was pretty awesome. I mean, I definitely almost lost my voice yelling out prize ticket numbers, with all the content creators coming up there, bringing their stuff and yelling out stuff. And we have 2 starter decks brought to us by Asmodee, one of the distributors there. People that never played the game ended up winning those.
That was cool. Ironic and great.
What's really funny is they were guests of Edwin Chen. I was like, oh my gosh, what are the odds? Like, a guy who's, winning GQs, topping at Worlds, he brings some friends and they get the starter. Like, what a great way to learn the game. Like, with spoilers, with a world champion and then just brand new players. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, they got a pretty good guy to learn the game from. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and to add on to that too, the youngest guy at the happy hour won the box too, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool too. There's just a lot of really great moments that are all community based. Like the 3v3 and the happy hour were purely based around meeting people at the 3v3, playing games of Destiny with horrible decks just for the fun of it. And at the happy hour, just meeting anyone who wanted to come out and, being completely smothered with prize support from the community. And it was just great because we were able to just goof off, have fun, stress free. And I think both events were a huge success. And I'm really excited for next year. Also, all the people I got to meet, holy cow, I had a blast.
Yeah, I mean, that's Worlds. Meeting new people, meeting old people. That's greatest time for Star Wars Destiny, that's for sure.
But not your co-hosts, apparently. Don't get to hang out with them.
No, we don't need to see them. We talk to them every week.
Yeah, we see them every week. We don't want to hang out with them, so screw that.
Yeah, I wanted a break from Sugi after about Wednesday anyway.
Was I snoring that bad? I thought I was too sick to snore.
You always snore. In my experience, people snore louder when they're sick.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a commercial for some sort of anti-snoring thing, you would definitely be the before.
Probably.
Sounds about right.
I did purchase earplugs from the local Walmart.
He did, actually.
How did that go?
It helped.
That was amazing. I mean, it was near silent. It was great.
All right, so moving on to Saturday, which was, I think it was the biggest day of the three. I can't verify that, but okay, it was.
I think so.
There seemed to be
Verified by Nick.
Yeah, there seemed to verified by a third party, unbiased. There seemed to be more players on Saturday than any of the other days, and probably like logistically that should be the case because people don't have work, so on and so forth. But I know a couple people who took red eyes Friday night, flew in, played Saturday, and then left Sunday so they could be, back to their job on Monday. So yeah, like facing off against friends just really sucked because I'm like, you never want to like see your friends early on in the tournament, maybe later, but it's like round 2 and 3 was just awful, just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen if you're, there with a pretty big group of people like we are. Like, you're going to see somebody, and hopefully it's later when y'all are both doing well.
I mean, Saturday was
and
more people
game,
that I knew that I feel like than anyone else. Like, Saturday was a ton of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like our game went down to like literally the last cards in deck, and you had the patience that I forgot you kept in. So, I mean, like, I knew you had it because I knew what you had.
You're welcome.
Yep.
But the patience made it to where it was one turn shorter, right? Which may have made a difference. But, it was down to you had one character left. I had one Ancient Saber left, and that was about it. Like, you hit hit what you had to have in your hand at the end of that game, and I couldn't actually play around it. There was actually no feasible way that I could play around it. So, you hit the Scout special, so I couldn't keep it in my hand. I couldn't keep it on the board because I knew you had a Vandalize, or not a Vandalize, but a Rebel in your hand and a Vandalize in the discard. So I had to put it on top after you had used your Yoda specials to do some other stuff. So, I mean, it just the way it ended up being. So, like, if that went one more turn, it might have gone different. But like I said in the beginning, had I won that match, I would have just been against Yoda Hondo after Yoda Hondo, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So, but, either way, I was glad at least one of us won.
Yeah, it just...
that tends to happen.
That does tend to happen. It just felt bad I couldn't make the fourth win. That really hurt, but it was fun. Worlds was...
Yeah, you get like 30 people standing around our table watching what happened, so that was pretty fun too. And I think
every single game I played, I had people watching. It was so frustrating because I had my headphones in, I'm listening to music as loud as I can. I could still hear them talking. I'm like, come on, give me some space to like navigate this deck because it is complicated. That deck is very complicated.
I tune everything out when I'm playing almost entirely, so I don't think I had as big of people following at any one point in time, but even if they are, I don't think that it's really that bad for me personally, at least.
I mean, like, I can tune things out. It's just I can like sense that there's a ton of people, and I like, I'm always focused on the game state, and then I look up and there's like a buttload of people around. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? Maybe they're watching other games. Like, oh no, they're watching me because everyone around me is like finished because it's aggro versus aggro. They're done in like 10 minutes. Like I go probably 20-30 minutes deep into every game. We never went to time, thank God. Would have lost with that, but it's a long game, and it's the only mill deck at the top table, so people are watching it to see like, how does it do, what does it do, because this was a very non-popular version of mill. So I know Todd said he built it really early on, but in the current meta, no one is playing this version, or at least
no one's playing that in standard,
at least championing it. Like, I think this is a very solid control mill deck just because it has all the tools it needs. That's why it's called Toolbox Mill. But like, currently meta mill decks are going to be Rican or Rainbow Rican, and I don't like either of those versions at all. So I wanted to try and build something that was unique to me, that played the way I want to play, and being able to vandalize 3 or 4 times is pretty darn good. I really enjoyed being able to either double, triple vandalize or double, triple scruffy looking nerf herder just to munch whatever I need to get rid of out of your hand. Like, scruffy looking nerf herder really, really helped me against Agent of Zion because it was just first action support. Let's get something out of your hand. And both times, I believe I hit...
You had 3 costs, you said.
Yeah, both times it was the Fang Fighter.
Fang Fighter, yep.
Which just saved me so much trouble because having to deal with 2 Fang Fighters would kill me, and getting rid of them, getting rid of 2 Fang Fighters really put me ahead because he also didn't have any other supports, both hands, if I remember correctly. So the only threat he had on the table was an airspeeder. Okay, I can live with that. So yeah, Saturday was kind of weird because the first match with Mill was just eating upgrades like crazy. My opponent had no upgrades until the last turn when I milled him to death, and he played a Maul's lightsaber in the hopes of trying to kill me. Unfortunately for him, he only dealt 9 damage total in the whole game, which I thought was crazy for a Boba 7 sister to deal so few damage. Like I got really lucky. I had the removal I needed. We also played on Otogunga, so I was able to claim and heal.
Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly, I just kept eating his dice with removal, putting shields on Yoda, and it just did not go his way. I vandalized him 3 times by turn 2.
Oh, that's gross. That's a big way to set that deck behind.
Turn 1, I go first. I use Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder to strip a Ancient Lightsaber out of his hand. So he's at 4 cards. Then he plays Lightsaber Pull to pull the other Ancient Lightsaber. Then he plays the Ancient Lightsaber. So he's got 3 cards out of his hand. At this point, I have rolled out some dice and some characters and things. And he proceeds to roll out, I think he put the lightsaber. It doesn't matter because I hit him with Vandalize and strip that lightsaber. So turn 1, both of his Ancient Lightsabers are gone. And that's a huge boon for me. I also had a Rebel in my hand. So the next round, I actually drew into the second Vandalize, and he proceeds to play, I'm pretty sure it was a Vibro Knife. So I vandalized that, and then I believe he also drops an heirloom, and then I vandalized that using Rebel, and that was it. Like, that was the whole game. It was over. There was like no damage. There was nothing he could do. Everything he had was removal for like damage, and I didn't deal any damage, so it was just this uphill climb, and I was constantly milling his deck and stripping out all of the upgrades he needed. Like, I hit both of his Shotos, I hit the other heirloom, so like it was the perfect game. It was really, really good. Round 2, I go up against Zion. That was not something I wanted to deal with because vehicles, especially 4-wide, could have been really, really tough. The deck did what it was supposed to do. It milled. I stripped cards out of his hand with Scruffy. I used Vandalize to get rid of his C-3PO, so on and so forth. The mill deck did what it was supposed to do. But I will say the end game came down to me having 1 character, him having 1 card, and he just had to roll lethal to kill me, and he didn't. So no matter what happens.
I mean, he had a bunch of vehicles thrown out, so if you didn't have hyperspace jump.
Well, yes, I did jump Zion to win the game because he pitched to try and roll lethal.
Yeah.
And I jumped him for the win, but it was a very close game. It was not a blowout by any means. Like, my first game was a blowout. The game against Rick in round 3, I don't think that was a blowout either, but it was not great for Rick. I don't recall much about that, just because like I was starving and I felt like total crap because I was still pretty sick.
You're supposed to say you felt like crap for beating Agent of Zion.
Well, I also felt bad for beating Zion because like I felt super bad because it was like beating Zion round 2 hurt, but then facing off against Rick round 3, I'm like, oh my gosh, why?
Yeah.
Why of all people am I meeting like friends I know personally? Like, I wouldn't have a problem if I played against like Elrathian because I don't know him personally. I know him from like going to cons and hanging out, but
yeah.
We don't do a podcast weekly. Like, I don't know about his personal life. Like, I know Zion pretty well. I know Rick very well. And it was like, thanks, FFG. Thanks a lot. So I was like, I was mad. I was frustrated. I felt sick. I was 2-0. So I really wanted to prove like I could do it because no mill deck had 3-0'd at the top tables like that, or with a Jar Jar, or with a Patience full art. So I was like, all right, let's do it for all the weird variables that no one ever accounts for. I mean, it happened. I played Rick and I won, but then it was like, all right, can't win another one. I screwed myself over in match 5 where I killed my Yoda very, very prematurely. Whenever, a great thing to learn, and remember, whenever your opponent says, hey, I'm dealing X amount of damage, don't just trust them, like check it, because my opponent claimed they did like 2 damage on a reactivation when they didn't. I just said, okay, put the damage on Yoda, killed him, and proceeded to lose the game because, unfortunately, I had set up Yoda to not die because I knew my opponent was going to attempt to deal 2 damage. So I put him in 3 damage range, so it was impossible to kill him, but I didn't pay attention. I wasn't all there. I screwed myself over and made a critical play error, which cost me making the cut. So, playing slow is fine. Not like slow playing, but like taking a breath and going, all right, where is this damage coming from? Checking, reading cards, reading abilities, just to make sure you don't prematurely, do something incorrectly, costing you the cut or, day 2. That's important. But it is what it is. I'm happy. 3-3 with Mill is, I think, good, especially with a very, very weird Mill deck. I'm happy with Worlds and just showing up and playing with friends, regardless of winning or losing. I had a blast. I met someone from Brazil. Their group does a podcast. We got to talk a little bit after the game. They were super nice. Her husband, my opponent was the wife. Her husband played next to her. Both of them made day 2. So it was like really cool to see them do well. And Saturday for Worlds was really, really cool because like I got to meet a lot of people who were like, I'm interested in Mill, or I play Mill, but I've never seen this. So like all the Mill players were kind of congregating, talking about Mill. It was really cool. It was fun. And, I posted the list. If anyone's listening and they're like, I want to play Mill, I definitely recommend trying it because, when it gets going, it's really, 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 really scary and it's hard to deal with. When it doesn't want to fire on all cylinders, it is possible to win. It's just very complicated. It's like Dark Eldar from Conquest. You can win very convincingly or lose very, very quickly.
Yeah, that one.
But I know Rick and Todd were definitely doing other things on Saturday, and I'd love to hear more about what you guys did because Saturdays, other than like the first 4 games, is pretty much a blur to me.
Yeah, it was a blur to me too. I got sick and I dropped out.
How many games did you play? Like 3?
It was either 3 or 4. I don't remember.
No, you played 3.
Did I play 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I played 3 then.
No, I think you did play 4.
No, you played
Did I play
4
4?
because we went to
You
You
lunch.
stayed to the lunch break.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
All right.
I took you back to the hotel during the lunch break.
Yeah. So that's what happened to me. It was great. A lot of fun. Loved it.
I had some good games. Round 1 against Bowie was pretty fun. Scared of Aura 1000, but got there on the back of a pretty good Feel Your Anger. Round 2 played against round 1 Todd's opponent. I think he was from Portugal. Cards were definitely in Portuguese, so it was either Portugal or Brazil.
Obi Maz.
Yeah, Obi Maz. Pretty good. Just grinded that one out. We ended up almost going to time there, but got it out right before time was called. Then played Sugi. It was a really good game. I don't think any of us really made any mistakes. It just was the way that it was. And then the rails kind of came off after that. So against Yoda Hondo from one of the guys from the Brazilian podcast, he had like 2 cunnings out by turn 2, so that's tough to beat. Definitely looked at his hand action 1 turn 1 with a friends in low places and saw like a cunning, easy pickings, overconfidence.
Ooh.
I think and some other stuff, and like I kind of knew that the game was over right there. But yeah, I take the easy pickings just to maybe keep some of my dice on the table, and just kind of cunning won him the game. There was one point where I think he rolled all specials on like every dice.
5 specials.
Yeah, you got like a 5 special Yahtzee or something like that. Can't really do anything about it. But yeah, it was a good game. And then the last 2 rounds were against the Ayla Rays. That one went bad and one went good. So ended up 3-3. It was fun. Would have liked to make day 2, but what can you do?
Yeah, me too.
The field was definitely the average player at Worlds this year was significantly higher than the average player last year.
Oh yes, yes.
So like. Everybody's sitting at home. That was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of randos at Worlds. How is this World Championship? Yeah, get there one year and play against some of these people and see how good the field is in that room, and you'll change your tone there.
Yeah, no lie.
I think that's a good thing for Worlds because last year was kind of weird. There was a fairly wide gap between the top players and the average player.
It finished itself out, I feel like, by the end, but still, yeah.
Yeah. But this year, oh my goodness, it was way, 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 way tougher in terms of player skill across the board. And I think that's good because we were a little bit confused last year because, coming from big card game backgrounds like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, the Decipher card game, like when you go to a big event, most of the players are all fairly skilled and the quote unquote worst players are still very, very good players. So when we went to Worlds last year, there was a bunch of people who were like, yeah, I'm just playing for fun. I went 0-6. I'm having a good time. And then you'd have people, who were going, 6-0. So like player skill was all across the board. You could have like people just playing jank for the fun of it. You could have people trying to win Worlds, and then people who were doing, 6-0. And then day 2, they went 3-0. So it was just really nice to see this year, like the skill gap has gotten a lot closer. So very, very good. There's a lot more good and great players showing up to these events, which is probably another big thing. I don't know last year how many people were actually able to get into Worlds because of the whole buy one, or not buy one, get one free, first come, first serve, just because maybe someone didn't know.
Everyone that wanted a ticket.
Yeah. Like last year, people
like everyone competitive. Like all the people that were like, I want to go to Worlds. I want to compete at the highest level of Destiny. I'm going. This is it. Like if you had that mindset, I'm pretty sure you got to go. or you didn't try hard enough because it really wasn't that hard from what I've heard for people to get in. I know I at least didn't have to worry about the lottery this year.
Yeah. So like last year, it was first come, first serve. I don't think they did a second wave of tickets because they just sold out immediately.
No.
This year, there was the first wave, then there was the second wave. So a lot of problems we heard last year were people saying, I didn't know when the tickets went on sale. I couldn't get off work or get to a computer in time. Or, people were saying like, I wasn't playing Destiny competitively. I, eventually picked it up, but now I couldn't go because it was too late. This year, none of those things were a problem. And I think having that kind of solved is good because if you, like you said, if you wanted to go, you absolutely could go. And boy, howdy, there was more players. The players were really intense. They were really excited. The games were tight. There was a wide representation of not only meta decks, but there were some very off meta decks that were there. And it was really cool. I remember, I think it was day one. I don't think they made day two, but on Thursday, there's a guy at the top tables, I think until like round 3 or 4, that had a Jawa in his deck. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's really cool to see a Jawa at the top tables.
Yeah, he was at table 1 on Friday for a while.
Was it Friday?
Yeah, I think two rounds he was at table 1. So
yeah, I think that was Friday.
What was he playing? Jawa?
I don't remember. I just saw the Jawa.
Was it Jawa Yoda Rose vehicles?
No, I saw the Jawa and just kind of checked out from there.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I saw him at I was like, table 1 with a Jawa. Okay. I clapped quietly and then walked away because, round 2, that doesn't tell you if that deck is going to stay or not. But I was like, that's cool. That's really cool. Let's get into Sunday, which was day 2 for everyone. And Nick actually played. So why don't you tell us how that went for you? Because the media coverage was fairly light until we got to the top 16, because there's not really a good way to speculate what's going to happen until we actually get to the cut, because it's easy to say, oh, this person is going in 6-0, but then we saw them lose 3 and they don't make the cut. Or someone comes in 4-2, they're at the top of the 4-2s, they go 3-0 and they do make the cut. So like for the entertainment and media purpose, we just kind of waited until the top cut, so we didn't do anything crazy because it was anyone's game at that point. We got some spoilers and that was cool, but tell us about the experience of playing in day 2.
Yeah, so actually going 5-1 in day 1 felt really good. It's exactly how I did last year, but like your chances of making the top cut going 4-2 into day 2 were very small, and there were definitely a few people that I know that made it 4-2, 1 out. Still didn't make the cut, still weren't even in even necessarily the top 20, just because the way the strength of schedule works out, like the 5-1s have the advantage. If a 5-1 or a 6-0 actually gets to the 7 win mark, they're going to pretty much make it in. There's a few exceptions where that didn't happen, where if they lost their first game, that was like the only chance. And the people that did that were like John Magnuson and Sean Pearl Yeti from Artificery. Those two were the 17th and 18th people, and they were 5-1s. They barely just didn't make the cut because they lost their first round. But if you won your first round, that's kind of where it came into. So that's the big thing I had going into day 2 was round 1 is the most important game. If I get a good matchup round 1, if I win game 1, then I'm sitting at all I have to win is either of these games, and I'm like almost 100% in. So that felt pretty good. It was all, but also knowing what was 5-1, what I would be matched up against was like there's a good 20% of the field I didn't want to see because of all the Yoda Hondos and a few of the vehicles decks that I didn't want to play against either. So there's definitely stuff I didn't want to see. And obviously I didn't want to play against Pearl Yeti, Agent of Zion, or Elrathian. Of course, I got matched up against Elrathian in the first round, which for at least is a good matchup for me. So he was playing Boba Phasma, but he was playing a card that was specifically meant to tech against my deck. And pretty much just my deck, because nothing else really would have. That's the card Take Prisoners, which is discard a card, pay 1 to discard, make your opponent discard 2 cards for each dead character. That's like, if I kill 2 of your characters, you basically lose your whole hand. That's not a card you see played, and I'm still not a card I expect people to play in general. So I'm still a little waving my fist at Elrathian for that one, because it's like, you little Utini over there. But luckily, I didn't have to run into that card, and I killed him the round before it came out. But in general, it can still be a rough matchup if I can't stave off the damage early enough and ramp out myself. But I had a very good start. I was able to get my at least a Ralliator tech team off on round 1, and then I think I got the Airspeeder out too. So I was able to put some damage in. I think I killed Boba by the end of round 3, putting a few damage into Phasma then, and also just winning the game round 4. So that was really, as much as it sucked to have to play against Elrathian and playing on stream nonetheless, it felt really good to actually win that one, because that's when it was like, okay, we can do it. We're going to be able to make it in the cut again. Obviously, I had to get good matchups for the rest of the way through, or at least one of the 2 games. But yeah, then the second game, I get matched against D-House, which he was playing Ray Ayla. He made the cut as well, but that is exactly the kind of deck I wanted to see. It was the first time I actually got to play one in the whole tournament, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. I have enough good removal. I was eventually able to take down one of those characters before, like, I think I had like 13 health remaining at the end of the game, and he ended up losing on Mill in the end. Like, he just ran out of cards from rerolling and stuff. Like, I probably would have won the round, but it just ended when he had no cards left. So that was good. He was able to win his final game to make it into the top cut still. So like I said, if you go 5-1 at a day 2 and you win your first game, you're almost guaranteed to get in as long as you get your second win. And then my last game was versus Jack from the Golden Dice podcast. So I had the content creator showdown on day 2, apparently. But Jack was playing Sabine Ezra, and that went about as well as I could ever hope for my deck to have gone against that, where Sabine rolls out pretty mediocre. He didn't go after my Guardian character first, so I think I Guardianed like his dice 3 times that game, which is just insane value out of that Royal Guard. Like, by the end of it, like he even never tell me the odds round 2 and just got 1 character kill off of that. And it's like, that feels terrible. You killed Ezra, and that's about it. I think I killed his Ezra round 2 as well, so it's like, seems fair. But yeah, I mean, that game was over by the end of round 4. I think I just finished him off, like hit his jump on round 4 with my Scruffy, which lined up, exactly how you'd want it, and he didn't have much answers. It was just me rolling in and getting it down there. But again, he was 5-1 going into it, or he was what, 6-2 going to 7-2 going 7-1 7-1 going into that final game. So he's also still made the cut after that. So it was good to know that final game was kind of like a victory lap, where if you win, it's nice, but it doesn't really affect a whole lot more of like what you play against in the first round of the top 16. Maybe I should have lost so I didn't have to play against the OTK in the top 16 though. But yeah, so I actually beat my record from last year on Swiss, going 8-1 instead of 7-2. So that felt really good. It was sad to be the only guy from Artificery of the 7 people that we had made day 2 to make it into the top cut, and to have to beat Elrathian out of it on the first round. But otherwise, it felt like day 2 felt really good, and I was pretty confident going into the top 16. And the OTK matchup should have been in my favor. First game, 7 of my removal, which I have like 9 hard removal cards. 7 of them were in the bottom 10 cards of my deck.
Oh,
and that basically lost me the game. I had gotten some ramp up. I cannot burst hard enough to kill 7 Sister down as reliably, so I was just trying to kill off the Night Sister so we get less reactivations and free rerolls. But just not drawing my control cards at all, like, really just sealed the deal. And even though like he got his probes off, if I had drawn one more piece of removal in the last 2 rounds of that game, I would have easily turned it. And then round 2, the second game, he just basically had everything that deck could ever want. And the deck did everything it could ever want to do, except for, I guess, winning the game on round 1. It didn't win the game on round 1, which I guess it might be able to technically if it gets perfect. So it didn't do 100% perfect, but it did well enough that no other deck could actually have probably won against it. Like, there's nothing that my play could have done to win me that second game. There's not much that he played perfectly both games. Like, I don't think I played anything really wrong either game. I don't think he played anything wrong either game. Just kind of how it happens when you got 2 really, 2 top people of the world playing. It's really, sometimes it just comes down to the dice and the cards, and that's okay. It's a little sad because the rest of the way, all the way up until the finals, even, I'd say were all favorable matchups for me. So I had a good chance going forward, but the OTK done got me.
So at that point, we got to top 8, top 4, top 2. And I mean, there's not much more to say if you haven't seen or heard already. Edwin Chen won. He beat Mods. So Edwin won with Kylo Anakin. Mods took second place with Rayla. So we're going to be replacing Nick Obi with Mods here in the next upcoming couple weeks as our number 2 guy.
Thanks, Rick.
Hey.
Next now, right?
Nobody knows who I am anyway. It's fine.
I mean,
I would like to add my highlight for the weekend was beating the number 2 player in the world last year, and
Oh my god!
and the number 2 player in the world this year in the same
Oh
weekend.
yeah, that's another good one because that Todd also put me on tilt the day before. That little
Utini?
man, yeah, that little Lutini. He just had an amazing first round, and basically it was like, "F you, I'm gonna rend everything that you can possibly throw out. You're not gonna throw a vehicle down. You're not gonna like." It's just like, okay, well, I'm toast here. Like, normally I would call Kylo Telson an easy matchup for vehicles, and maybe the 4 wide isn't as good against it as the 3 wide one because it has better ways of dealing the rest of its damage. But holy crap, that felt awful. Like. Dude, I think you're about 50% of the reason why I got put in a dark place on Thursday. But I don't know. I guess I can say I'm something. Maybe it helped me rise like the Phoenix into going 5-1 on Friday. So
You're welcome. That's all I got, man. It's all I got to live on for the next year. So.
It's okay. Well, next year we'll make sure both of us aren't.
I mean,
sick.
that's the only time I think I've ever like played against Todd too. So
You're 100%, I guess.
Dude, I am 100% against him and Mads.
Yep.
yeah, he. I think that makes Todd the best player in the world because he's beat both runner-ups.
I'm
Wow.
going to take that. I'm going to put that
That's
on my
fair.
mantle.
I'll take beating Agent of Zion because he always talks trash about mill decks and me playing mill decks. So can't do that for what?
That's because you are trash.
I disagree.
Everybody knows that.
Oh, my feelings.
Especially the double blanks guys. They know you all trash.
Actually, they did reveal a very interesting fact I did not know. There's no sweet tea in Minnesota. Not like
Oh,
sweet.
and I love that.
Sweet, like
I love
the
unsweet
sweet tea.
We don't need no sweet tea. That's just gross.
Well, I had a layover in, of course, Atlanta heading home. So I found a restaurant and I got me some sweet tea. And boy, that stuff is like thick. I forgot sweet tea is really, really, really sweet.
yeah, I don't like it.
It was delicious, but I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to kill me if I drink like too much more of this. But
My last thing I would like to say is congrats to the Hyperloops. Those 2 guys showed up. They did their job. Like, I know they finished 3 and 4. That's not quite where they wanted to finish, but man, they showed up and they put on a show. I was impressed with their play. I'm really pissed I didn't get a game against either one of them, but
Shots fired.
shots fired. So, but I mean, yeah, I was really impressed with those guys.
just play them on TTS.
I don't play TTS, man.
Todd doesn't.
That's true. Todd does not play TTS.
I got to look you in the eye.
That's how I feel about Mill. I want to look in your eye.
And then pass out and claim.
Yeah, pass out and claim. Or call blue.
Call blue against a mono yellow deck.
No.
All right, so this has been a long episode. We had a lot of fun at Worlds. My voice is shot, so I need to recover over this next week and get well. But what were your favorite moments from Worlds? We did a lot of things. We met a lot of people. We had a lot of fun. And to be really honest, like the tournament was my least, I guess, quote unquote, favorite part of Worlds, if you could say like that. Like I had way more fun just meeting people in the halls. I played a mill matchup against Minion, which was really fun. We had a bunch of people watching that.
Who won?
Minion won by acclaim. We both milled each other.
That's
out.
right.
Okay. We're gonna have a rematch. We're gonna have a rematch. I know. But he also had a really wise statement. He goes, this does not determine who the best mill player is because mill versus mill is so different.
Mill versus Mill
Like,
is the stupidest thing ever. And it's
Yeah,
one of the reasons
yeah,
why I never want to play Mill.
Yeah, he basically said in order to determine which of us is the better mill player, we would need to go through a gauntlet and then do it like a win-loss ratio against the same players.
Yeah.
So as fun as it was, he was like, I was like, I can see, you're a better mill player. He's like, this doesn't actually determine who's a better mill player. It just,
He's just talking down to you.
oh, okay.
Sorry. I know where my money's at.
All right.
Sorry.
All right.
I won't say who, but you know.
Minion's my boy. I'll take him. Home team.
Yeah, of course you're going to bet on Minion.
Got to, man.
I know.
Home team.
He's your local boy. I'm not mad at that. But that was a highlight. Like I played against Minion. You guys have been talking him up. We had a lot of fun. What was really funny is we both knew who was going to win like 3 turns before it happened. And I thought that was really cool because we were just kind of talking to each other through the game. And that's not something you get from a regular matchup. Like mill players have just such a weird match as opposed to like mill versus aggro or mill versus mid range. The happy hour was a blast. I met just so many people. The 3v3 was stupid fun. We just goofed off so much. The pods were a blast. I mean,
Were they
Worlds
though?
was.
Were the pods a blast?
I played 2, and then I left for a gratuitous amount of time.
Dude, all pods did for me was increase my stress levels.
The 2 pods I played were just like goofy decks and like just fun matchups. Like it was just hanging out basically. So, I mean, what are your guys' highlights from Worlds?
Definitely hanging out with everybody that I only get to see once a year, meeting new people, getting invited to Nordics.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's pretty fun. So maybe Knights of Ren worldwide here in a little bit.
yeah, we're working on that.
Mads' secret sauce of how to win at Destiny. It involves carrots and wait until your mates leave the hotel room.
Yep.
And doing other things. But just all in all, I mean, Jeremy's Warren just kind of showing up at the happy hour and getting a standing ovation from everybody there, hanging out with them. The 20 people we went to the little tavern after Worlds Day 2 on Sunday and just kind of hanging out and having burgers and drinking beers with people. And not getting sick. That was cool.
Shut up.
Earplugs. Number 1, definitely.
Way to be that guy.
Can't wait till next year.
Well, I know probably the happiest person in Minnesota is whoever cleaned our room after we left because they got 1.5 gallons of rum that I could not drink because I was sick.
No, I mean, that was in my suitcase when we left.
Was it 1 gallon? All of it?
The gallon was.
Oh, well, they got 0.5 gallon.
And it leaked in my suitcase.
There you go.
So my clothes smell like rum. But,
That's cool,
whatever.
Man.
It's cool.
Yeah. I think my favorite part about Worlds is everything that came after Friday and playing my games. Because the whole beginning of it, as fun as it was seeing people, I was just too stressed. But, by the time Happy Hour Friday rolled around, I was so relieved. I made day 2, and that's all that, like, at that point, that's all that mattered. It's like, okay, I did good enough. Now I get to relax. And I did relax. And Friday night was awesome, amazing. Getting to see everybody walking around talking to just all the people that came to our happy hour, hanging out with Jeremy there for a little while, too. Saturday, just watching all the games, because I did not play a game of Destiny on Saturday at all. And it was wonderful to not have to stress about that. So played some Legion on Saturday night.
Oh no! You got me hooked,
fun,
bro.
So we had some fun times. Hanging out with all the Artificery guys was a lot of fun. But I mean, I think the happy hour is still one of the most fun parts of the whole thing, because it was bigger than last year. It was better than last year, and I was actually part of it this year instead of that weird guy that was just sitting there trying to talk to people, pretending like I was somebody, but I wasn't, because I was just a nobody.
Yeah, watching you just. You're a totally different person playing Legion. So I really hope we can meet up and get some games in one of these days, because that was super funny watching you teach me how to play. And you're like yelling, like, do this, do that. No, don't do that. Do this. I'm like, oh my goodness. Who is this person? What happened to Nick?
It's fun to get competitive about things sometimes.
Yeah, but you don't do that in Destiny.
No, Destiny's different. It's easier to be chill about it. I get a little testy sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Obviously not with dice games. So is it war games?
No. I mean, I do get testy.
I saw him get testy.
Todd saw me get testy after
I saw him get testy.
Push my poop in. That's what he did.
I'm pretty sure Nick's butthole puckers every time he sees Force Friend now.
Yeah, I didn't like it, so it was not good.
That card is way
because I'm very much of the, especially when playing a test game like that. It's like I'm just too mad to keep playing. We're gonna concede, because it's better than me playing it out the rest of the way and just getting more frustrated.
I am there mostly daily, so I know how you feel.
But I can cool down fast. I'm happy in 5 minutes afterwards.
That is very true. Especially when you roll the nuts shooting Vader and dealing like 6 wounds out of his 8.
Yeah, that helps too.
That was pretty crazy. Before we get out of here, I do want to spend like 1-2 minutes tops talking a little bit about the GQs coming out of Worlds. Do you guys have any predictions? Any thoughts? We are 2 weeks out before, a weekend of 2 GQs simultaneously. Do you think we're going to see more Kylo? Do you think Sabine's going to come out? Like, what are your thoughts coming out of this meta? Because we saw everything under the sun, and everything did fairly well, believe it or not. Like the top 16 was very, very diverse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'll see more Kylo. I don't know if you'll see it do better than it has been, because it takes a particular type of person to run that deck and to pilot it efficiently and to a 6-0 record that you need to go to in a GQ. It's a very touchy deck. I think both the Kylo Talzin and the Kylo Anakin decks are both really, really touchy. The Kylo Anakin needs very, very solid resource management. If you can't manage your resources, you're not going to be able to handle those Yoda Hondo matchups. I mean, that's what I think. But I do think that the one thing you might see show up that we hadn't seen prior to Worlds was the deck that Joe was running. That deck was really interesting. And it has a lot of flexibility and a lot of durability in it.
What was that? Yoda, Ezra, Rookie Pilot?
Yes.
And then Nick, you played it. I remember there was some interesting stuff. There's like, what? There were blasters in there on top of vehicles?
Yeah, he had DH-17s and holdouts to just kind of like keep the cost curve low while still having like it's really just like all about, you know, kind of like wearing your opponent out. They claim you use Yoda to like focus a ton of dice and just chain up big damage. Like it's much more aggressive than you'd expect it to be, because you're actually trying to hit for like somewhere between 5 and 8 damage round 1 even. So that's why I could still do it. Like as long as you protect your like Ezra or Rookie, like as long as you protect a character from dying round 1, you can really do well at bursting against their damage, like with like 5 to 8 damage round 1 yourself. So it's an interesting variant. It's definitely better against the other kind of vehicle stacks as well. It's not perfectly good. Like I think Ray Ayla's was his first matchup, and that was there was a lot of that there. So
anything else?
No, I have no idea what to expect actually from the meta for legacies going forward. I don't even know if we don't know how far Way of the Force is out. We don't know if we're going to have more balance updates before then or with Way of the Force. That would certainly change up the meta a little bit if we had another balance update, but I don't know that anything really needs it unless we free Unkar.
I don't think you're going to see that happen between now and the GQs that happen this week. No. So even if they came into effect, it wouldn't be until after the GQs.
So, yeah.
I would love Unkar to come back. I would be so happy.
But I probably expect more of the same. Like all the popular decks in Worlds. And I don't say that there's going to be necessarily one in particular that's going to win it, but it could be anything, because a lot of it comes down to the matchups and the players themselves over the decks right now, because there's so many decks that are capable of winning.
Yep, I absolutely agree. So anyways, this has been a super nice long episode. Thank you to every single listener who has been a part of this show for the last year and a half. Thank you to all of our Patreons. Without your support, we could not have thrown the happy hour. We could not have done the 3v3. We could not have gone to Worlds and brought back the coverage that we did. Of course, we're going to be talking with Edwin and Mods and so many other people we met at Worlds over the next coming shows. But we just want to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us on Facebook, on social media to hang out and chat about Worlds. Thank you to all of the people who met us there at Worlds, who said hi, who talked to us, whether it be at FFG, at a pod, at the happy hour, wherever it was. We really appreciated meeting up with, you know, fans. We met people who weren't even like Destiny players that just hung out and talked and were just super cool. I learned a little bit more about Armada from some people that I was just talking to while we were hanging out in the hallway. So just thank you. Thank you to everyone. You know, if you listen and hear this, or if you hear it from someone else, thank you for interacting with us. But just a big thank you to the overall community. Congratulations to every single person who did well, all the content creators who performed well, FFG, Jeremy, all of the people who make this game amazing. Thank you for, you know, making this game what it is. The community, the people. That's what we are here to, you know, do this show for, is to entertain and to just be, you know, people that just hang out and play Destiny and have a good time. So thank you so much for joining us this week. We will see you next time, and may the Force be with you.
Peace out.
Much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and join us on all of our social media outlets. And a big thank you to all of our Patreons for your support. We can't do this without your help, so make sure to join us for all of our exclusive Knights of Ren content.